I've noticed that people sometimes have three point of views when it comes to AI transformation and all this. Some would say, like, yeah, I love it. I've used AI tools and they work perfectly, like they make my life easy. Some would say, yeah, like, tried it, been there, done that, it's good, but I'm worried about the future. Some would say, no, like, this is like killing our jobs and like what the future holds for us all. And honestly, like, I would like to start with this question to all the panelists. Like, please, your point of view and how we can actually myth bust this.
Well, one thing that I find personally is that when I get on a flight, in probably 10 years ago, I could say, oh, I work in AI. I was like, oh, that's nice, that's a nice little niche job you're doing there, that's okay, you're off in a corner in a wardrobe. And then there was this point where you're like, oh, 5 years ago, a few years ago, you work on AI. I was like, oh, that's very cool. You're kind of like you're working on that on the moment. This is great stuff. And then now it's always a bit of like, are you gonna hate me if I say I work with AI? Am I now suddenly this person who has stolen your job? And the reaction I get, so then I'd be like, oh, I work in computer science. So
makes sense.
Yeah, honestly, first of all, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. Something I noticed when speaking to people about AI is that the less people know about it, the more they're scared of it. So the more you know about it and you try it and understand its capabilities and the fact that you're using it for basically the answer is as good as you put into it, as good as your input, you realize that it's actually not that scary. I mean, maybe 30 years ago, I'm not sure, I wasn't there in terms of work-wise. With the introduction of spreadsheets and things like that, I'm sure people were terrified. It's like all the data people were terrified and it's going to take over our jobs. So the more people learn about it, I guess, the more they're happy about it.
Well, from my side, being from an agency side, so I always hear this, everybody's terrified, but at the same time, the best people I know are not. I think if you deal with AI as artificial intelligence, it's like having somebody new in the office, and if you allow somebody, if you're not on top of things, you're not, on top of your own industry, and naturally, if it's not AI, it's going to be another human who's going to take your job. The only thing is, AI has the competitive advantage of computing in a higher scale than us, but we have the human part that actually will always be there to add value. Yeah.
So tapping on that, I mean, like, it's up to us as well, right, to be up to speed and to learn more, to understand technology more and AI more. So I think, as my colleague Melis as well mentioned, so the MMA has partnered with MIT for trainings and stuff, and if anyone is interested, please go figure it, check it out, and I think it's beneficial as well. It's not an ad. Cool. So firing up. So Dina, when launching Brad, like how does this fit the Arab users and like Saudi dialect searching and chatting habits? Like, are they there? Like when you put the consumer at heart as well? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work at Google, and last year we launched our own generative AI tool called Bard. I hope you've tried it. I hope you've heard about it. But basically, we've launched it in English in MENA last year around April, May, and it took us around 2 months to 3 months to bring it in Arabic to the user in MENA. And there was a reason we waited that long, because when we launched it in English, it worked very, very well in English. But before launching it in Arabic, we were like, wait, let's just understand how it understands the Arabic language and the Arabic culture. So in terms of language, it's much more complicated than just turning it right to left and localizing the homepage, images, and all of that. We wanted that generative experience of that chat, the conversation, to fit with what the user want to say. So first of all, we were not dealing with one language, right? I was localizing to how many dialects that we have. So if you speak to it now in Saudi, in Egyptian, in whatever, we had to do a lot of testing to make sure that it understands these dialects. So that's the first thing, right? It's much more complicated than launching it, say, in Italian or in German, the fact that we have a lot of dialects. So that's one of the things, and we're very happy to say that it understands dialects quite well. The other thing that also we focused on is professionally, and even not professionally, but more importantly professionally, when we talk to AI, and even when we talk in our day-to-day life, we use a lot of mixed languages, right? Like when I speak to any of you today in Arabic, I'll be using a lot of English words, and sometimes vice versa. So we don't want we didn't want Bard or the AI experience to say like, wait, I don't understand what you're talking about, you're mixing languages. So we wanted to make sure that this feature fits the Arabic user. So for example, I'm just very random example here. Think of the word gamer in Arabic, right? A lot of us say gamer, we don't say lab or something, we say gamer as a content creator on YouTube. So if you tell Bard, give me, in Arabic, right, give me a list of gamers, and you write gamers in English, it will understand what it means, what you mean. But we took it even to a further level, and even if you write gamer in Arabic letters, right, if you transcribe it in Arabic, which a lot of us do, if you go on Twitter and notice how people speak, especially in Saudi, they use a lot of English words transcribed in Arabic. So we needed to make sure that it understands the user and what they mean. So that's why we waited a bit. So to be super comfortable with our Arabic capabilities, and I personally use it a lot, I have to, but I also really believe in its capabilities in Arabic. When I work with agencies, for example, and they're trying Bard, they're like, yeah, we tried it in English. I'm like, no, try it in Arabic. I usually get emails from them saying, wow, it's really, really good in Arabic. So that was a crucial element for us to make sure that it fits the Arabic user.
Super interesting and scary, to be honest. And moving out of Google and going a bit more global as well, a question for Ian. So will we see a AI solution customized and localized to cater to cultural and linguistic nuances on a global level?
Yeah, so I think one of the points that Dina was making that's really interesting there is the performance out of the gate for the chatbots, just in general. Because it all comes back to the training data, the data which you use to train the model to say, this is the behavior you expect. And there's just more and more English language training data available, and therefore, if you were actually to do one little simple pass, and you took like the translations of Wikipedia, you will find that your performance will literally dictate by what's the actual quality and quantity of the data in those given languages. And so that's where kind of Google's invested heavily to make sure that the kind of the experience they bring here is this kind of wonderful kind of iteration. I encourage anyone who hasn't used it yet to go and spend some time with Bard. One of the things to say though is that language models, this is new, and so in the past, I think probably about 2 years ago, there was some kind of work to say with kind of directed text generation. So actually giving a prompt and saying, write a kind of like an article, write a bit of a blurb. And people were like questioning to say, would this ever pass for like a human? Like, did a journalist kind of write this article or not? And so this test was done, and people were like, oh, actually, almost 50% of people believed that it was. No one even bothers now. Like, everyone's just like, yeah, it's kind of completely passed, it's completely kind of plausible. But, you know, the LLMs can get a little bit naughty. AI gets a little bit naughty, not necessarily deliberately, but can just hallucinate and just kind of make things up. And just be like, well, we've got these other references, these citations to, be it kind of like to court cases, to be it to kind of like other sort of like research papers. We imagine there might be some other ones in there that don't exist, and therefore we might just kind of make up our citation. And so one of the things that kind of blew my mind fairly recently was that there was this sort of, if I go back in time, Harvard Business Review, data scientist, sexiest job in the 21st century, feeling very smug, should have secured employment for some years to come. But then I uploaded a data set. Being a man-child, I uploaded the European football scores. And I kind of just was able to upload this into a chat interface. And I was able to just write free-form questions, not in any kind of like SQL or any kind of like structured data analysis kind of tool, just free-form questions. Who is the leading goal scorer for this particular season? And it gave me an answer, and it said, this can't be right, because this person is a goalkeeper. And I was like, oh my days. Because what had happened is that not only had it kind of computed who it was, it then checked that with real world knowledge. And basically said that cannot be possible because the goalkeeper does not score the most goals. Maybe it's the odd one. And so it knew that the way the data was structured was slightly different. And it was able to kind of flag that. And suddenly I wasn't feeling so smug about having secured employment for the rest of my life, because that data scientist job is like now everyone and anyone can suddenly become that data analyst. So kind of like circling back to that kind of that point there, the key thing is going to be the quality of data and how that data is kind of pruned in order to make sure that you do kind of capture cultural nuances and to be able to make sure you have enough training data in the region that you're trying to kind of like provide these type of services. But make no mistake, AI will still do things that are naughty, which we just don't realize, and we've got to try and work out how do we handle that, and that's been a kind of obviously great investment for kind of Google in terms of how they've been doing that with Bard.
Perfect. And I'll tap on that point actually. Like, what's the perception, Fahad, on and value of things have been developed by AI? So like we're talking about development and stuff. So how do people perceive this?